into the article of unrelated information designed explicitly to just, lower the, or I should say, increase the gullibility of the people reading the article. On Wednesday, Gabbard announced that she declassified the House Intelligence Committee's staff report on the intelligence community assessment in the 2016 election at Trump's direction. Well, look, actual facts. Look, a single sentence without rhetorical flourish meant to tell you how you're supposed to react to the facts. She then proceeded to post a new series of highly produced graphics highlighting what the Trump administration claimed were Obama-era lies about the election. Okay, so this sentence is a little tricky. I think we can do it. She then proceeded to post a new series of, not highly produced, they're just graphics. Again, these words just don't mean anything. Highly produced. What's highly produced about them? They were done in Photoshop? Well, yeah, was it as highly? Yeah. The Daily Beast produced highly produced and unsubstantiated graphic art. Literally more highly produced than her graphics. Moving arrows. Look, they had to go through and isolate his hand so it went in front of her face. They spent more time on this picture than Tulsi Gabbard did on her infographics, just so we're clear. Just so we understand, when they say things like highly produced graphics, it doesn't actually mean anything at all. Literally nothing. Literally nothing. But it's there to insinuate, to give you the idea that these graphics are somehow not legitimate or not. They're just graphics. They're just graphics, guys. Okay, so she then proceed to post a new series of graphics highlighting, and here they say what the Trump administration claimed. Now, that again is just superlative and unnecessary. We can just erase that whole section of the sentence. So instead what we have is she then produced a new series of graphics highlighting Obama-era lies about the election. See, when you get rid of all of the excessive, unnecessary, opinionated words in this article, what you find is that the director of national intelligence published evidence that Obama collaborated with the intelligence community to commit treason and try to destroy the first presidency of Donald Trump. Then you add in words like highly produced, unsubstantiated, fabricated. Like, these words don't mean anything. They don't add anything. They're only there to manipulate the people reading the story so that even though they are presenting the facts, those facts are so surrounded by and overwhelmed by these opinions, then you're left believing a lie. It's the latest in a series of information dumps Gabbard has made while arguing Obama officials manufactured claims that Russia worked to influence the election. Well, this is interesting because I can just erase like the first half of this sentence and it actually is true. So then by erasing chunks of the first sentence and the first half of the second sentence, what we're left with is she then proceeds to post a new series of graphics highlighting Obama-era lies about the election. Obama officials manufactured claims that Russia worked to influence the election. Oh, look, it's the facts. Look, they're buried. Half of the article is facts and the other half are things to make you think that those facts don't say what they actually say. Again, we'll get into like what these facts are, and we'll continue to elaborate on just how thoroughly Barack Obama was involved in this, but you should be able to read these things for yourself.
Fox News alert, the Ayatollah's gone in.
This is the American Journal. We are talking about the bombshell revelation by Tulsi Gabbard of what we've known all along. And this is the thing, you can get kind of lost in the weeds. Obviously, the strategy of the left is to try to just obfuscate and confuse everybody as to what exactly is happening here. Let me lay it out very, very, very clearly to you. It's not difficult. The powers that be conspired to try to stop Trump from being elected. And when they failed, their backup plan was to hobble his presidency by saddling it with these claims of Russia collusion, stopping him from doing anything. Most importantly, stopping him from interfering with their planned war against Russia. Because it's not, don't think for a single second that it is a coincidence that Russia is the country that they chose to frame Donald Trump with, because they knew that if he had this media narrative going that he was a Russian agent, then that would force his actions against Russia's interest. Because anything he did that it was remotely in favor of Russia, they'd be able to point to as evidence that he was serving Russia's interest. So because they had long planned to, start a war in Ukraine, try to weaken Russia through a proxy war before ultimately, committing a regime change operation there in an effort to destroy a nationalistic bulwark to their globalist combine. So they needed Trump to be, influenced away from Russia, pushed away from Russia as much as possible. And the best way to do that is frame him as being a Russian puppet so that on his own volition, he'll go out of his way to not fulfill that assumption and work against the interests of Russia and continue to, exacerbate the conflict between us. And of course, this came to a head when he called Ukraine and was trying to get information about the corrupt activities of American statesmen in that country, including Joe Biden and his son Hunter, but just tons of other people as well. And they impeached him over it, again, as a defensive move to stop him from looking in to the, facts of the case. And because once you start pulling on that string, the whole sweater unravels. So again, I think it's important to, I guess people who don't know this, go back and try to understand it. Should have grabbed more clips. One of the most disturbing things about the press conference yesterday is Tulsi Gabbard lays out, again, and it's not complicated. It's not hard to understand. She's a very clear speaker. It was very obvious what she laid out, and it was very disturbing what she laid out, that the president of the United States deliberately withheld exculpatory evidence so that they could continue to push a lie knowingly in a politicized attempt to weaponize the intelligence agencies against their political opponents. That's just like a huge deal. That is a gigantic deal. And again, obviously, we've known this forever. But for this to come from the director of national intelligence at the podium at the White House, one would think that even if just to maintain the bare semblance, the appearance of objectivity, the reporters in the White House press briefing room, when they heard this, would be outraged by it, would be astonished by it, would want to ask questions about, how far this goes and if there are people still in the administration that may be holdovers from this cabal. I mean, this is a big deal. Instead, they're defending him. And this is the really incredible thing about the mind control of the globalists and how they've sort of reached critical mass in their mind control efforts. They don't have to give out talking points. They don't have to distribute, position papers telling everybody under their control how they're supposed to feel. They know it already. So when they say that Obama was caught, and here's the evidence, here's the documents of him, conspiring with the intelligence agencies to try to ruin Trump's presidency, they just immediately start arguing with her. They just immediately start going, oh, well, if this was the case, then Trump was already president. Why didn't he do it then? Well, one of the people that you named, John Ratcliffe, is still working for so why haven't you fired him? And they just know automatically we're not supposed to believe this.
Watch it live right now at band.video.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the American Journal. We'll move on because I don't know how much more there is to say about what Tulsi Gabbard revealed yesterday, except that it's basically everything that we've already known. I mean, this is the thing. If you were there in 2016, it's like you watched them throw Hillary Clinton into a van like a sack of potatoes. And now it's like 10 years later, they're like, Hillary wasn't healthy. It's like, yeah, we know. No, we know. No, we're aware. Next, you're going to be telling me Pizzagate is real. Next, you're going to be telling me Michelle Obama is a man. Again, the sad thing about this is that any of this has to be explained to anybody, that the media is acting stupid and pretending like they didn't know. This is a story from back in 2017. Obama's campaign paid $972,000 to law firm that secretly paid Fusion GPS in 2016. It's by Sean Davis on The Federalist, again, all the way back in 2017. Obama's campaign organization has paid nearly $1 million to the law firm that funneled money to Fusion GPS to compile a dossier of allegations against Donald Trump. Former President Barack Obama's official campaign organization has directed nearly $1 million to the same law firm that funneled money to Fusion GPS, the firm behind the infamous Steele dossier. Since April of 2016, Obama for America has paid over $972,000 to Perkins Coie. Records filed with the Federal Elections Commission show, the Washington Post reported last week that Perkins Coie, an international law firm, was directed by both the National Democratic Committee and Hillary Clinton's campaign to retain Fusion GPS in April of 2016 to dig up dirt on then-candidate Donald Trump. Fusion GPS then hired Christopher Steele, a former British spy, to compile a dossier of allegations that Trump and his campaign actively colluded with the Russian government during the 2016 campaign. Though many of the claims in the dossier have been directly refuted, none of the dossier allegations of collusion have been independently verified. Lawyers for Steele admitted in court filings last April his work was not verified and never meant to be made public. So again, Obama's campaign pays Perkins Coie, who then employs Fusion GPS, who gets Christopher Steele to compile this fake dossier that the FBI then uses, despite knowing it came from opposition research, despite knowing that the claims were unverified, despite knowing that it was entirely false, pretended to believe it in order to get the warrants to spy on the Trump campaign under the assumption that once they started spying on the Trump campaign, there would be something they could get them for, right? And if nothing else, then they would send Russian assets themselves. The intelligence agencies would provide provisionary visas specifically for Russian agents to come into the country to go meet at Trump Tower with Trump administration officials, to then point to that and say, see, they're meeting with Russian officials, even though it was the FBI themselves who sent the Russian officials in the first place. Because we're dealing with this is spycraft. This is intelligence community work. This is what they do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is crap like this. And they're manipulating everybody. But again, it's obvious. It's imminently observable. It is apparent to anybody with the ability to apply logic to a set of circumstances. And again, as we go through this Daily Beast article, and we'll move on because we got a lot of other stuff to talk about. And again, I guess the question here is Obama going to be in handcuffs? Is John Brennan going to be in handcuffs? And if so, what happens then? If so, are these leftist groups, the likes of Antifa, who just 2 weeks ago staged a murderous ambush, a multi-stage, highly coordinated military action against ICE agents, not to mention the ongoing insurrection, encampment in Portland, the violent riots against immigration officers in LA, the Black Lives Matter crowd? How would they respond to the arrest of Barack Obama if you have Democrat politicians, like they do every other time this happens, going out and stoking the fires and riling them up and telling them that the riot is the voice of the unheard, calling, violent attacks peaceful protest, an attempt to cover up the actions of their foot soldiers attacking their enemies at their orders because the President of the United States is seeking criminal charges against people who committed criminal actions. I wonder I wonder how the left feels about Obama. If he got arrested, would they even care at this point? I don't even know. Then again, they just hate Trump anyway and would use this as an excuse. And at a certain point, I guess it just doesn't matter how hypocritical they are. They're just, I guess it's just a fact we need to accept and move on from. It is going to be funny, however, watching them, cry about a former president being arrested. So I just, for the sake of our country, these trials have to go on. They have to be charged. They have to be arrested. They have to be thrown in prison. This just has to happen. And whatever comes in the fallout of that, well, it'll just happen. DOJ launches strike force to investigate Obama team's weaponization of Russia hoax against Trump. A federal strike force is made up of teams of investigators from multiple agencies working together to take on complex cases. The DOJ announced Wednesday the formation of the strike force in response to new revelations of how former President Barack Obama and member of the intelligence community fabricated the Russia hoax that haunted President Trump's first term and cost American taxpayers millions of dollars. Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement that the strike force will assess the evidence and investigate potential next legal steps related to a damning 2020 report released this week by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. So I guess this would be like, what would we say? This is like 1/8 of the way there. I'm trying to think. As far as I'm concerned, like if I was president, my priorities be Jeffrey Epstein and that blackmail ring and the cover-up and the murder and the Mossad infiltration. It would be COVID-19 and the vaccine poison, the creation of the lab leak, the lies to Congress, the cover-up, the shutting down schools and permanently injuring millions of people, as well as the massive deaths and the rise in turbo cancer, all that stuff. Okay, we haven't seen any movement there. Obviously, the Epstein files are not seeing any movement on. In fact, quite the opposite. Then we have the 2016 election. But then we also have the 2020 election. So out of all of these, this is the first one that's actually shown some sign of movement. But so far, nothing real has happened. Right? All we have is this bizarre and highly produced infographic. Oh, what's that? It's just an infographic. Never mind. It's just a very normal infographic. It's actually not a very good infographic. Could have been done a hell of a lot better. It ain't great. It ain't great. But even instead of just like focusing on the facts of it, I think it's more valuable to try to teach people how they themselves can read this information and glean the truth from it. Like I said, if you erase about half of this Daily Beast article, then it is a true article. However, the facts are constantly obscured by just inadequate information or straight up opinions. And the next line here is pretty great. However, as Gabbard continues to release the documents, she has strategically conflated two separate Russian activities in her messaging. The documents determine Russia did not attack election infrastructure or hack the election, but the intelligence community did find that Russia tried to influence the ballot. Okay, well, the intelligence community finding that Russia tried to influence the ballot doesn't actually mean anything, does it? It doesn't actually mean anything. They didn't actually present proof that this happened. They never actually made the case. Even if Russia tried, like, what does that even mean? It means that they didn't do it. Right? So you can take this paragraph, and it's multiple sentences, and out of all of it, there's about 10 words that actually should be in the article. So you can just release, however, as Gabbard continued to release the document, she has strategically conflated two Russian activities in her messaging. No, she hasn't. This is the part that's true. The documents determine Russia did not attack election infrastructure or hack the election, and the rest of it is unnecessary. Okay? So again, I want to teach you that in this Daily Beast article that is replete with lies, the truth exists, and you can find it. She accused officials of promoting the lie that Vladimir Putin and the Russian government helped President Trump win the 2016 election. The report itself directly states Russia worked to undermine the election. What was less conclusive in that specific report was Russia's preferred candidate, which was the whole point. Right? I just want you to understand, A, how bad this is, how bad our situation is, and B, how we got here. Right? The situation is bad enough that just everything is a lie. Our own government works against us constantly. Even when we follow the rules and do everything right, they label us domestic terrorists, kick down our door in the middle of the night, haul us away at gunpoint. It's really bad. It's really, really bad in America right now. And the reason it's that bad, the way that we got here, is articles like this. Is this type of activity. Do you think the intelligence community could get away with what it gets away with without the media deliberately obscuring reality? Without articles like this designed in a very sophisticated way to drive people away from the truth? This requires a universal, ubiquitous conspiracy at every level. Almost again, it's hard to explain. It's hard to even fathom how this mind control works, like how thoroughly controlled these people's minds are. Again, the director of national intelligence comes out and says the former president weaponized the intelligence community against his opponent, and he is being referred to the DOJ for criminal charges, possibly up to and including treason, for which the death penalty is the ultimate consequence. And in response, instead of shock and horror at what was revealed, every question asked was trying to downplay it, was trying to poke holes in it, was trying to, and it just doesn't make any sense. You present these people with something they've never seen before, and they just immediately know that they're not supposed to believe it, and they're supposed to look for ways to undercut it. And it truly is wild to see how this works. So again, it's not complicated. It's not hard to understand. Russia did not prefer Hillary or Trump. That's pretty much all you need to know. So all of the claims of Trump's Russia collusion were all false. And again, it just goes on and on. I don't know. We can just move on. But it's just when you start thinking about everything that's gone on, all that she talked about, Tulsi Gabbard, was after the election, which wasn't even where most of the criminality took place. This was the cover-up. Really what she's talking about here is just the cover-up of the Russia collusion narrative, which started back in early 2016 with the intention and the design of spying on Trump, releasing, leaking information, screwing over his campaign, covering up for the crimes of Hillary Clinton, including the Benghazi emails, including the private server, including the Pizzagate emails that were exposed, including the pay for play and the, selling Stingray weapons to terrorists and Al-Qaeda, funneling them through Libya, which is why Benghazi was attacked in the first place. They cover all of that up while simultaneously launching fake, warrants against Trump. I mean, you're talking about surveillance. You're talking about just manipulating a warrant process, crime upon crime upon crime. And none of that is even included in this. This is just the cover-up. This was after Trump was elected, what they did to try to sweep up and cover up and perpetuate this narrative to lay the groundwork for impeachment later on and to perpetuate the antagonism between Russia and America with the intention of starting a war between Ukraine and Russia as a proxy against the nationalistic forces arrayed against the globalist schemers. We can move on. We can move on now. But I do want to point out just how sort of incestuous all of this is. So you've got Perkins Coie. So you've got Obama paying $1 million to Perkins Coie, who hires the Fusion GPS, who gets the Steele dossier. Now, Trump gets back into office in 2024, and he wants to go after these agencies, or these law firms, like Perkins Coie and a few others. And he basically says, you people tried to destroy me. I'm going to take your license away. I'm going to punish you somehow. I'm going to use whatever authority I have to stop you from doing what you did to me and other people. So let's see, Perkins Coie, what should I write? what do they say? They say like pro bono. So then these law firms go, you know what? We understand. We're sorry of what we did. We are going to, please don't destroy us. Please don't, take away our ability to function. In return, we'll do pro bono work for you. Do you know what the pro bono work they are doing for Trump is? It's writing the anti-Semitism laws. It's writing the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act and getting that passed. That's what Perkins Coie is doing in, apology for trying to destroy Trump, as well as, being one of the leading forces behind the January 6th political persecutions. Law firm says Trump order targeting it specifically is an attack on the rule of law. The law firm Perkins Coie is suing the Trump administration, alleging that a recent executive order targeting the firm is unconstitutional and aims to punish it for representing clients and causes that are opposed to the administration. President Trump signed an executive order last week addressing risks from Perkins Coie LLP that accused the firms of dishonest and dangerous activity that sought to overturn laws and elections and said it racially discriminates against its own attorneys and staff through its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. In the lawsuit filed Tuesday in federal court in Washington, D.C., and again, this was back in the beginning of Trump's second administration, attorneys for Perkins Coie called the executive order an affront to the Constitution and our adversarial system of justice. Its plain purpose is to bully those who advocate points of view that the president perceives as adverse to the views of his administration, whether those views are presented on behalf of paying or pro bono clients. But of course, what Trump was doing was accusing Perkins Coie of a range of nefarious actions over the years, allegedly seeking to undermine democratic elections as well as the integrity of the U.S. courts and law enforcement. The order specifically mentions the firm's representation of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign and the role attorneys at Perkins Coie played in the creation of a dossier of unsubstantiated allegations about the possible Trump-Russia ties. The lawsuit pushes back against any allegations of wrongdoing. It notes that Trump filed a lawsuit in 2022 against Perkins Coie, Hillary Clinton, and others alleging a conspiracy against Trump. The case was dismissed months later by a federal court. Michael Sussman was charged by a Democrat by the Justice Department special counsel in connection with his work related to the dossier. A jury found him not guilty at trial. Trump's order also accuses the law firm of racial discrimination because of its diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. And so Perkins Coie, in order to avoid this, punishment from Trump for trying to undercut the rule of law and overthrow the results of the Democratic election, they said, don't worry. We're going to offer pro bono work, and we're going to write anti-Semitism laws for you to put into place. You're welcome. You're so welcome. As well as a number of other things. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but it's nothing good. It's all just so they're going to be writing laws that just to criminalize language. What? And at a certain point, you got to admire it. You almost got to admire it. They get caught doing something bad, but they're powerful enough that they don't actually get punished for it. And so they're like, we'll do pro bono work, and they just write laws that make it illegal for you to criticize them. And they're like, that's our community service. What? Oh, it's just infuriating. It really is just infuriating. These people need to be put in prison. I'll say for now. I got to find where the actual... This is the problem. If I don't... I should be able just to type stuff into Google and find it while we're live on the show. But if I don't compile everything before the show, I just can't find it because Google just hides everything. And I have to sit here and figure out exactly how I'm trying to say it. President, the real losers in Trump's law firm deal aren't who you think. Wealthy firms may be spared punishment. Their needy clients will pay the price. Earlier this month, U.S. federal judge made the right call in declaring President Trump's executive order targeting the law firm of Perkins Coie utterly unconstitutional. To justify the penalties The president cited purely political reasons, including the fact that the firm had represented Hillary Clinton, his opponent in the 2016 Democratic presidential race. Yeah, well, why is Rudy Giuliani losing everything he owns? Why is he being forced to give up his father's watch? Oh, because he was President Trump's lawyer? Again, you just try to find an example of these people complaining about something that they themselves haven't done. Everything they complain about, they do first. It's just crazy. So the Trump administration is demanding a pledge of nearly $940 million worth of pro bono legal services collectively to the administration, basically saying, you know, if you don't want to be punished, you got to give us nearly $1 billion worth of pro bono work. Initially, the pro bono work would include assisting veterans in making the justice system fairer. Since then, the White House has said the firm should be called upon to provide free representation to coal companies, to police accused of use of excessive force, and the White House itself. The White House has already told the firms the president intends to use their pro bono work for implementing their America First agenda. So what they ended up actually doing is writing the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. They're like, you'll assist veterans in getting health care and making the Justice Department safer and helping coal companies. Or maybe you'll have to defend police in their use of excessive force. And then at the end of the day, it's like, oh, no, actually, there's writing laws saying that you can't criticize Jewish people. And that's the work that they've done for us. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
There's a reason why supplements are so big and so popular and have such